Hola guys, welcome back again. I'm just here, Katie up here in the academy, and we're just going to be going through our third lesson for you guys in 6th or higher level Spanish, okay? So again, just before we get into kind of our whole lesson today, which is going to be on the subjunctive, I did this with my French class as well. The reason for it is whether it's for my day school students or students in grinds or students that are messaging me on Instagram, it's just one of these grammar topics that people overthink so much, and I just want to kind of touch base on it a little bit again, just to hopefully kind of, I suppose, like get rid of all of the, I suppose, the junk that's around it, all the waffle that people kind of get so stressed about. Like, it's really not that deep. So we're going to be having a look at that in a couple of minutes. Again, I'm going to start off with your verbs and the phrase of the day as well. So our verbs for today, so she is hungry, the girl is in the class, the situation was alarming, she's thirsty, and when the virus ends. Okay, I didn't realise I used she, so she's hungry and thirsty, God love her, and when the virus ends. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to just have a look through them, and I'm going to go through the phrase of the day like normal. So the verb here, so ser de color de rosa, okay, ser de color de rosa is kind of, I suppose, like to be very good, like to be perfect, to be very good, to be near perfect, for everything to be great. So es de color de rosa is like, yeah, it's all good, it's perfect, don't worry about it. And it would be kind of related to our phrase in English, like to be looking at something through rose-tinted glasses, that you kind of only see the good in something. So that could be a really nice phrase to have. Now looking at our verbs, okay, let's go through the corrections for them, okay? So she is hungry. So again, in Spanish we have to say she has hunger. If I was going to use the subject pronoun, I would use ella, I don't need to. Tiene hambre. The girl is in the class, okay, so la chica. I can already feel people asking questions like, what if I say la niña? La niña is the little girl, specifically like a child, it's not wrong. Chica is just the word for a girl. Okay, so la chica, and I'm talking about where she is, so to say how you feel or where you are, you always use the verb estar, okay, so está en la clase, and clase is feminine. Okay, the situation was alarming, right, so let's work through this bit by bit. So the situation, la situación, again, feminine because it ends in an ion, okay, so an ion. Now, if I'm talking about the situation being alarming, right, that's not an action, it's a description, and we know that for the past tense, if I'm describing something, I'm going to use the imperfect again, so I'm going to use era, so I might just write beside that is ser, and it's in the imperfect. So la situación era alarmante, or era preocupante, inquietante, whatever you want. Alarmante is probably just the easiest. Okay, she's thirsty, so again, I don't necessarily need to use the word ella, but I can. And then thirst is sed, so tiene sed, she's thirsty. And when the virus ends, now, speaking of the subjunctive, right, the word cuando, when, plus an idea in the future is going to put us in a situation, grammatically speaking, that we need to be using the subjunctive mood in. What they will do, I guarantee you at the dialogue construction, like 90% of the time, in like the 4th or 5th section of it, it'll say something like, say when you return to Ireland. That's them trying to fish out their H1ers, okay? So keep an eye on that, okay? If or in your oral exam, if you want to talk about when you're finished school or whatever, you're going to be using cuando, and then your verb's going to be in the subjunctive, okay? So what I'm going to be saying here, so cuando el virus, and then the verb to end, we can use terminar or acabar. So terminé or acabé. Okay, so our subjunctive mood here now, I actually just want to double check if I have the page number for your notes here. Okay, so basically, right, if we're looking at the subjunctive, before we even get into all of this stuff here and the formation and stuff, I just want to go through a couple of key terms with you. Sorry, big part, I just want to get these out now. Subjuntivo. Okay. So I was just explaining this in French, that basically if you think about your English essays, right? If you're writing a subjective essay in English, that's all about you, right? That's all about your opinion, your experience, all of this kind of stuff, okay? So, sorry, I just want to grab these. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if I'm talking about something being subjective, right, I'm talking about it being all about you, okay? Because you are the subject in grammar, okay? So that's the first thing, right? When we're talking about the subject in grammar, we're talking about the person carrying out the action. Okay, so for argument's sake, if I'm looking here, right, so she is hungry, so she is the subject in that sentence, the girl is the subject in number 2, the situation is the subject in number 3. She again is she's the situation, she's the subject in number 4. And then when the virus ends, so the virus is going to be the subject of the verb to end as well, okay? So it doesn't even have to be a person, it can be the person or the thing that's carrying out the action. So basically the person or the thing who's doing the verb in the sentence, okay? Our verb then is the action or the active word in the sentence. Okay, so the physical action that's being carried out in the sentence, okay? And a sentence usually needs a verb to make sense, otherwise it's not considered a full sentence. And then we've got the words tense and a mood, right? I'm kind of going to talk through these together. If I was teaching this in a class, and I did the same thing in French, if this was a full classroom, which it's not, unfortunately, but if it was, what I'd be doing now, I would be like picking on people and I would say, okay, tell me 3 examples of a feeling you would have if you were in a good mood, or 3 examples of a feeling you would have if you were in a bad mood. Because if you think about a mood, like in the sense of your emotions, what we're saying there is that a mood is like if I was in a good mood, I'm going to be like happy, relaxed, excited, looking forward to something, chilled out, whatever it is. All of those things have that common goal of the fact that they're all connected to the good mood, right? In grammar, it's the very same. So we have things in grammar, we've got the indicative mood, so like your normal present tense, all your past tenses, the near future, they all belong to what's called the indicative mood. Then we have the subjunctive mood, we have the conditional mood, and we've got the imperative mood, the interrogative mood. But basically all of these different moods in grammar are just collections of tenses that all follow a specific goal or follow the same rules. They all have a similar purpose, right? So it's kind of really like the mood is the mum and dad, and then all of the tenses are like their babies. Do you know what I mean? They all are connected to each other, even though they might not all be the same, okay? So a mood is just going to be a collection of tenses with the same goal, the same purpose, the same reasoning, the same mentality or something behind them. Does that make sense, okay? So that's what a mood is, and then a tense is obviously related to that, but a tense in its own right is just a verb, regardless of what mood it's in, it's just a verb in a given time frame. Okay, and the reason I'm giving you this terminology is just that if I do use them when I'm going through the subjunctive for the rest of this lesson, that those things make sense, okay? Now, I'm going to come back to the flower in a few minutes, right? What I want to have a look at over here, right, is the uses, right? And I have this little sentence underneath it, okay? And it says, only a weirdo likes doing the dishes, okay? The word weirdo is going to come back to the 6 uses of the subjunctive. So how am I going to learn when I have to use the subjunctive? Or how am I going to learn what triggers the subjunctive so I can avoid it? And then the dishes is going to stand for the 6 irregular verbs, and I'm actually going to rub these out when I'm finished, and then I'll go through the word dishes as well, okay? But I think that's a really handy thing to just have in your head, that you know you're kind of a little bit more familiar with the uses of them and you know what the 6 irregulars are, okay? So I hope that makes a little bit more sense, right? So we're going to start off with W, right? And W is going to stand for wants or wishes. Now, what I mean by this, and this is when people start overthinking, because they mean like, oh my god, every time I say I want something, does that mean that I have to use the subjunctive? Absolutely not. The subjunctive, if I was to give you one thing to remember about it, it's like usually the subjunctive is used to kind of, I suppose, identify a change in subject, or it's used to really emphasize something that the subject is feeling. Okay? What I'd be saying about this would be like, my parents want me to get 500 points. So I've got 2 verbs, I've got the verb to want and the verb to get, and I've got 2 different subjects, I've got my parents and I've got me. So to identify this change in subjects and the whole idea of the want or the wish is going to trigger the subjunctive, right? So to give you that sentence, I'd be saying like, let's say mis padres. So I'm going to start off normal, quieren. Now, so they want, that I get, que saque 500 puntos. They want me to get 500 points. So basically this whole idea that, yes, this is what they want me to do, but it's not sure, it's all up in the air, it's just a wish, it's a hypothetical thing. That's the whole idea of the subjunctive. Nothing actually happens, it's all just waffle, I suppose, okay? Now, emotions then, I might actually give you some of these examples in English as well, just so you can actually see what I mean. Okay, so I'll kind of go from Spanish to English, right? So if I was going to talk about something here in English that would trigger the subjunctive, it would be It makes me happy that, and then I'm going to again change in subject, okay, that you are here. I'm so cute, right? It makes me happy that you're here. So again, I've got two different subjects there and my two different verbs, okay? Now, I'm actually going to move these down a little bit just because I don't want to be squashed. Okay, I'm going to put a little star beside this, right? I did this with French as well. What I'm going to do beside the star is I'm going to give you some of the exceptions. So it's going to be claro, obvio, and evidente, right? So these are my exceptions. The bit in red are the exceptions, okay? So these don't follow this rule. Okay, the I is going to be for impersonal expressions. And what we mean by that is starting a sentence with something like, it is something that. Okay, so it is good that, it is bad that, it is important that, it is critical that, whatever. So to give you another Spanish example, I would be saying something like, es importante que estudiemos. It is important that we study. Es importante que estudiemos. So if I wanted to avoid that, I could just say it is important to study. I'm getting rid of that second subject and I'm just going to use the infinitive. I would say es importante estudiar. Okay, well I would think that that's probably the reason I'm putting the star beside that is because that's probably the biggest area of concern in the fact that people are very able to begin that sentence, but they're not aware of the fact that it usually triggers the subjunctive and then they end up losing grammar marks in their written work, okay? So guys, now the next bit then is going to be for or, and it's going to be recommendations. So recommending. So I'll give you another example in Spanish. So I would say, right, so I recommend, so recomiendo que. I could say, recomiendo que, I don't know, pases 3 horas practicando. So I recommend that you spend, so again, I recommend, and then I've got another person doing the spending. So I recommend that you spend 3 hours practicing. Recomiendo, sorry, that's recomiendo, or I recommend. I recommend that you spend 3 hours practicing, okay? Then we've got doubt. So if I was going to say that, I would say like, I doubt that, I don't know, I doubt that she got an A or something, right? But let's say, in Spanish, if I was going to say dudo que, I doubt that. Dudo que haga buen tiempo. I doubt that the weather will be nice. Okay, and the good thing is with the subjunctive mood, there's no future tense in it, so it's just present. So I'm just going to use the present tense to indicate the future. Okay, so I doubt that it will be nice weather. Dudo que haga buen tiempo. Okay, and then my last one then is O. So I've got two versions of this, right? So the first one is going to be opinions, but they're going to be negative, in the sense of when you start saying things like, I don't think that, I don't believe that. So like, let's say, no pienso que, so from your role play 1, right? No pienso que sea nada serio. I don't think that it's anything serious. Okay, so there's my subjunctive. No pienso que, I don't think that. Now if I'm going to say pienso que, it's just normal. Okay, so what I would say to my 6 years up here in the academy is that if I'm going to say I don't think that it's serious, but I get the subjunctive wrong, I'm better saying I think that it is not something serious. So you just swap the bit of your sentence that's negative and then you're going to be able to avoid it. And the other thing is, ojalá. Okay, so ojalá, usually followed by the word fe. Okay, sorry. I don't know why I pronounced that such a weird accent. Okay, so we've got ojalá que. Ojalá, I would say this to my 6 years when we initially started looking at the subjunctive, in case you don't remember as well, comes from when the Moors, which were an old Muslim community, invaded Spain in the 14th century, okay? And we know that the Islam god is Allah, and this is a word that comes from that invasion, and it literally means, oh God. Okay, so it would be the equivalent of us saying in English, like, please be to God, or hopefully is how it's used, it's hopefully, but it'd be very Irish of saying, like, please be to God. Great, so what I'd be saying here would be like, ojalá que no llueva mañana. Hopefully it won't rain tomorrow, okay? So that's just, for that to make sense, it literally means, oh God, oh Allah, and then we just have that hard Spanish J in the middle of it just to try and make it sound a little bit more Castilian, okay? So I'm just going to rub out, if you want to just take a quick screenshot there before I rub out just a bit in the middle, okay? And just so that I have enough space here. Okay, now what I'm going to do really quick before I go into the formation of it, I'm just going to give you the name of the 6 irregular verbs. We've covered these already, guys, so you should have them in your notes. Again, if you need them, just email me. On the off chance you're watching this and you're not one of my students, this is the easiest thing to find online. All you need to do is Google dishes subjunctive for Spanish. We've got dishes. The name of them then, so the only irregulars, dar, ir, ser, haber, which is where we get the word I from, estar, and saber. Okay, and I really need you to try and understand this. I don't care how weird any other verb is. If it's not one of those 6, it's 100% regular in the subjunctive, which is great, okay? So now, forming the subjunctive, right? So we've got 3 things here. We've got our root, our stem, and our endings. Now, I always use this whole visual thing of the flower because I just think that it makes it a little bit less stressful, a little bit less daunting, whatever. So if I'm starting off with my root, right, the first thing I'm going to do in Spanish is I'm going to get the yo conjugation of the present tense. And then to get my stem, so my stem is what I'm going to add my endings to, okay? So to get my stem, I'm just going to drop the O. And then I've got 2 sets of endings, right? So I'm going to do 1 set in blue and 1 set in red, okay? So basically for my ER verbs, it's kind of like Irish where you have like a broad verb, a broad vowel and a standard vowel, whatever, that they're just kind of actually swap, right? So my ER verbs are going to take broad endings. So it's going to be a, as, a, amos, ice, and an. And then, and that's for IOR as well. And then for my AOR verbs, I'm going to have a, ace, a, amos, ace, and n. So essentially all that we do is just swap AOR and IOR around, and the only change is that the first letter isn't an O. Okay, so that's it. So just to show you, I'm going to give you 2 examples, right? So let's take the verb hablar. So for my AOR verb, so my first conjugation, so my starting point is going to be hablo. Okay, or if I was going to take, let's say, the verb tener for my EOR verb. So you can see both. Okay, so I'm going to be left then with hablo. I'm sorry, and that should be tengo at the bottom, not tener, Katie. Okay, so we've got hablo and tengo, which I'm then going to be left with hablo and teng. And I'm confusing myself now, just markers, sorry. I'm getting 2 into my whiteboards, you'll have to forgive me. Okay. So this is my starting point, this is where my flower is going to come from. I'm going to start here, then I'm going to get my stem, right? So this is what my endings, my 6 endings, my 6 petals, my 6 people are going to come from, okay? So again, let's just pop our endings in. So we've got a, ace, a, then we would have amos, ace, and n. Then I'd have a, as, a, amos, ice, and an. And the other thing to remember is that before you use the subjunctive, 90% of the time it's going to have the word que in front of it. And it'd be a lovely way to end your oral exam or something and say to the examiner, que tenga, because I'm being formal, I'm going to address them as usted. Que tenga un buen día, like I hope you have a lovely day, okay? And it's very Spanish to just even drop the espero in front of it and just say that you have a nice day. Okay, so que tenga un buen día. But again, I hope that kind of has consolidated a little bit of what we've been touching on. We touched on in the first term back in the start of 6th year. But again, if you have any questions, if you need a few more practice exercise, whatever, you just get in touch with me or leave a comment below and I will get something to you as soon as I can. Okay, so best of luck with the rest of your studies and have a great day. See you later.